in the G7 Hot Air Summit in Canada, I still can't quite work out what those things are all about. Everybody goes, oh, it's very important the world leaders get together. They never seem to achieve anything. They just issue some bland statement about world peace at the end. And this statement about world peace was even more meaningless than the previous statements about world peace. Absolutely ridiculous, with Donald Trump storming out and refusing to sign it. But it looked like a nice place. Anyway, we referred earlier to Sky News's interview, Beth Rigby, with the Prime Minister in that stunning setting. She asked him about what was going on in Iran and Israel. Let's have a listen.
It sounds like an American attack could be imminent. Do you know what's going on?
Well, I don't think you should read into that an American attack is imminent.
He's calling the Security Council together.
We had a 2-hour discussion with the President last night on the Middle East, on this very issue, and as a result of that, the G7 statement came out very clear about the risk of the nuclear programme in Iran, Israel's right to self-defence, and the need to de-escalate across the region, including in Gaza.
So you don't think an attack is in his mind, or US joining Israel? You don't think that's in his mind?
Well, the wording of the G7 statement, I think, speaks for itself, and I sat next to the President for that 2-hour discussion as we were working through not just the issues but the statement itself.
So you're not worried about escalation?
I'm clear that we need to de-escalate.
But are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation. I'm worried about escalation in the region.
Well, Rakib, the translation of that is he has no idea what's going on because of Britain's palpable anti-Israel attitude lately. Don't forget, we just sanctioned 2 democratically elected members of the Israeli government. They're not particularly savoury individuals, but they are part of the government. And quite why Britain was sanctioning them remains a mystery to me. You didn't need to do that. Plus, of course, David Lammy's various statements about, you know, the awfulness of what Israel's doing, the fact that we sort of hitched our wagon to the International Court of Justice, saying that it was possible that if Netanyahu came to Britain, we might place him under arrest, and so on and so forth. This has resulted in Britain being kicked out of the circle of intelligence. So when I'm talking, a year ago, Britain, America and Israel, probably France, would have all been in on this. We'd have known exactly what Netanyahu was planning and potentially what the President of America, Donald Trump, was planning. Will he pitch in with this or not? But as you saw from that interview, Keir Starmer hasn't got a Scooby-Doo. He does not have a clue. We are not in the circle of intelligence anymore, and I think that's very disturbing.
Well, I think we make the point that ultimately, Kevin, the US absolutely has its right to pursue its own foreign policy, and the UK also has its right to pursue its own foreign policy. Now, of course, in an ideal world, you would want there to be a degree of compatibility between US and UK foreign policy. But you could say that we had that under Bush and Blair when it came to the so-called war on terror, the illegal invasion of Iraq. So sometimes that compatibility doesn't work very well. It doesn't go according to plan.
Well, it doesn't when Britain becomes, as I said, palpably anti-Israel, which it has become. Netanyahu, you know, wouldn't be in the same room as Starmer anymore. Certainly wouldn't be in the same room as David Lammy. Same deal for Trump. We have alienated ourselves from these people.
But Kevin, I admit, and I appreciate we may well have very different views on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. For me, I think that Israel has been responsible for decades-long militaristic occupation and population displacement. And the 2 members of the Israeli cabinet you mentioned there, I believe it's Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar.
They're not great guys. I agree.
They've expressed
I know about them.
In my view,
but they are democratically elected, and I don't think we should be sanctioning them. I don't see the point. What is the point? It's performative and virtue signalling.
I think the thing here, Kevin, is that many people like to choose a side. I actually think the main problem here is that we have the State of Israel and the Islamic Republic of Iran. There's 2 regimes there where there are a fair share of religious fanatics. And I think, to be honest, both regimes, by and large, they let down their respective national populations very badly indeed.
What do you think is going to happen there? Do you think we're going to cover this story later, but I'd be interested in your view. It looks to me, Russia today has said you better not get involved to America, but their statement was quite diffident. It was just warning of the result, you know, that this could be very destabilising to the region if America does that. So it wasn't, if you hook up with Israel in these bombing raids, you know, we'll attack you. It wasn't that. So
No,
I'm thinking more and more, it looks to me as if Trump is edging towards sort of hooking up with Israel in these attacks on Iran, because I think both Trump and Netanyahu sense that this could be the beginning of the end of the Mad Mullah's regime.
No, I think that it's very clear that Benjamin Netanyahu, he is very much in war mode. There's no two ways about that. And he's pushing for regime change in Iran. I think in terms of the Kremlin at best will issue what I'd consider to be warnings over that if there is an American involvement when it comes to airstrikes on Iran, that threatens to destabilize the region. But if that was to happen, Russia's not going to intervene. Russia's focus continues to be
it's busy
on the war in
isn't
Ukraine.
it?
It's very busy elsewhere, the war in Ukraine. I think that's precisely why, if you look in other parts of the world, Russia has ultimately redeployed its resources to support its war efforts against Ukraine. So there won't be any kind of Kremlin-led military intervention if America was to directly intervene in the Iran-Israel conflict.
My view on Trump is this, as I say, we will be covering this story later, but my view on Trump is what he's weighing up is if the Ayatollah Khamenei is about to fall, if the Mad Mullah's tyrannical regime is about to destruct, then he wants a piece of the action. He wants to say, I was involved. So if he senses that the end is inevitable, the end for the Ayatollah and his regime is inevitable. It's been going on since 1989, by the way. He might want a piece of the action.
No, listen, I think that one thing that President Trump likes, he likes to win.
Yeah.
And I think if he senses that in the last stages and that America could essentially finish the job in terms of securing the downfall of the regime, the current regime in Iran, then there is the possibility that we could see direct American military involvement.
Yeah, I think probably sooner rather than later, maybe even tonight. Fascinating what's going on, also very, very worrying.